Alright, so in this video we're going to talk about using oil pastel to color in the still life. And this is the still life. Remember yesterday we finished outlining, that had dried, but then we did the background yesterday. And so now the next step is to use oil pastel. And so I have an assortment of colors here. One color that I'm going to put in a couple of is white, because white is that one color that helps all the other colors blend really well. Peach will also do that, but white's like a magical oil pastel. So when you're coloring your objects, they do not have to be the same exact color as what you saw in your pictures. If you want to play around with some different colors and have fun, you can. Or if you say, well, this is an orange, so I'm going to make it orange, that's fine. What I do want to see is that you are mixing colors. You can do 2 or more colors, but you are going to want to use white with almost all of these. And I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I mean with the orange if we want to keep it real. I'm going to do yellow and orange and a little bit of white. I might even pick up a little bit of red later on, but I'm going to start with these. And yellow is the lighter of the 2 colors, so I'm going to go ahead and start with that. And as we look at the picture, we're going to look for the light and the dark areas of the picture. So here's the picture, and if I'm doing the orange, it looks like the lightest part is almost in the kind of the middle, but a little bit off to the bottom just a little bit, and it's darker on the top edge and on the bottom left edge. So that's what I'll concentrate on doing, is the lightest part being like right here. So I'm going to go ahead and just put some yellow almost everywhere here though, because I want to really get this layered with pastel. Well, the orange itself is really not a yellow, but this is our base color to start with. And so now I'm going to take some orange in, build it up in those dark areas. And again, this is a realistic approach on the orange, but I guess you could have a purple and blue orange if you wanted to. Okay, so I paused this, and while I paused it, I put a little bit of red in just to darken it up. So I put some red up here, and you probably can't see the red as much here because I went over the red, okay, yellow, orange, red, and then I went over it again with some orange just to subdue that red. And now for the white. This is where we're going to pull in some white. And you know what? I'm going to put a little bit of orange in here first. I think I'll drag a little bit of that white out. And my goal isn't to leave it quite so splotchy. I don't want to see this big spot of white. I want it to blend more. So what I'm going to do is take the orange and go right over the top of that white. So it's not a white area so much as it is a lighter orange area. And so layer, layer, layer. That's what we do with oil pastel, is we layer it. And oil pastel is a lot like crayon, except that it blends so much better than crayon ever will. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this and do a couple more pieces, and then I'll come back to the video when I have those done. Okay, so I have 2 more objects started. I have the flower object, and I have this jar started. So what I did with the flower object is I put yellow down and then green, and I thought I would try the peach instead of the white this time. And it's okay. It's very similar to the white, just a little more color to it. I'm not convinced that this is bright enough because I want this to be a really bright, fun still life. So I might say, okay, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to come back with some more yellow just to brighten it up a little bit. And I'll play around with that just a little bit more. let's talk about the jar here. What I have done is put down blue and violet, and you can see these fun, bright, intense colors on this black paper. And if you look at the picture, it is definitely darker on the right side and on the bottom, so I'm going to do a little bit more detail on that. But there's a really cool white streak in the middle here. So with that white streak, I'm going to take the oil pastel and just drag it up. I could almost just draw it in, but I want it to be a little bit crooked. So I'm going to kind of bring it up like this. And then I'm going to apply just a tiny bit of white over here. Now, one thing we didn't talk about is as these oil pastels get used, you are going to have to rip off a little bit of the paper so that you can keep using it. And that is not a big deal. So we'll go ahead and do that. All right, so I went up with that, and I'm going to add just a little bit of white here and there, so I'm going to put a little in. I don't want it to be really dramatic white because I want that line to show up, but I also want to add a little bit of a lighter area, kind of shimmer to the glass. So I'm using the white for details, not so much blending this time, but we'll see what happens when we go over it with a little bit of blue or purple. Kind of subdue that. All right, so you get the idea. It almost turns kind of a fun pink color. Like I said, I'm going to go in and darken the edge here. So I've got a lot to do on this still life, and I'm going to come back later. I'll attach it to the video later. But this gives you an idea of what we're doing on the objects for the black still life. In the background, we are going to approach it a little differently. We're not going to use oil pastel. We're going to come back with the regular pastel. And again, you'll see that in the end, but this was my practice drawing. And we have way too much background, and what we're going to do is go ahead and go over it with some of the chalkier pastel because that'll go a lot quicker, and I just think it'll be a little more effective on the background. And we're still going to have these fun glue lines that are going to stand out from the pastel. So that gives you a summary of what we're doing on the still life.